Afternoon, welcome back. So I've had my dinner, and I said I'm basically just going to demonstrate to you how to do pot noodles repeated on me. Excuse me. Basically going to show you how to do a notch that can be used for mostly pot hanging, and then I'm going to show you what it's used for. Again, this is totally for novices, and you've got to take health and safety into consideration as well when you're doing these knots. Well, notches, not knots. So now there's two ways you can do this. Just going to bring my camera up there a little bit. Wonder if that's better or worse. Okay, so there's two ways you can do this. Okay, so depending what knife you've got. And if you've got a strong full tang knife, like this one here, very strong knife, full tang as you can see all the way through the handle, then I've got no problem with batoning with this at all. It's very tough steel. But if you haven't got a strong knife, or you don't think the knife that you've got is capable, say maybe if you've got a folding knife and you obviously don't want to baton or smash the back of your knife if you've got a folder, so obviously that'll be a no-no because it will end up snapping your only blade that you brought out with you. So I'm going to show you about two ways of doing this, which is like called cross batoning. You can call it what you want. I don't usually stick to the terms a lot of the time, because obviously with memory like mine I tend to forget a lot of things, and obviously because this channel is purely for people that's either novices or got problems with their mental health, don't be too don't be too concerned about what everything's called, like what the knot's called, what notch is called, and etc. Just call it whatever helps you to remember. When I first started doing this notch, I actually called it a beak notch. I know it's not the proper name for it, but it's because, which I'll show you, it's in the shape of a beak. I've heard other people call it actually a parrot notch, would you believe? Okay, so two ways you can do this. One is cross batoning, which I'll do for you now. Tilt it all the way down. Okay, try not to spoil any angles or anything. Okay, so cross batoning. So you get your full tang knife, your strong knife, and you want to put it there, as if you're going to draw an X. Okay, so you want it to be there. Okay, so stable platform. Obviously don't want to lose any fingers. Get your baton. Doesn't need to be heavy because we're not actually going through the all the way through the stick, if you get me. So the first cut is going to be there. I'm going to cross baton that. Okay, deep as you can go without actually splitting the wood. So word of warning, try not to use wood that's obviously rotten. This one's alright, I've tested it earlier. Okay, so all I've done is done that cut there. If you can see it, if the camera's picking up. Okay, that's your first cut. And what you want to do then is, just like you're doing an X, you want to do your next cut that way. So you're essentially making an X, which I'll show you. Okay, so exactly the same thing again. But if you're left or right handed, doesn't really matter because the results are the same. So when I'm batoning, I'm actually right handed, but when I'm batoning, I actually do swap the knife and put it into my left hand, believe it or not. Well, there we go, I'm just weird. Okay, get on the tip, make sure it's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so So what you've got there is an X. You can see it right there. So you're doing a cross section. Okay. Then what you're doing is bring the camera into focus again up here, like that. So then what you're doing is you can see where the X is there, right there, and you want to cut in at the same angle as where this ends, right at the bottom of the X. So hopefully you can see this. So you can see where the X is there, and you want to come in where the X ends at one side. Okay, exactly the same angle. Again, I'll go through all these cuts with you. So this is what's called a push cut, and you want to line it up with the X on the top bit. Okay, so you go from the bottom to the top in exactly the same angle. Okay, so coming through here using the push cut like that, and again like that. Take some wood away. I think this is slightly rotten, but no worries. Okay, so again, exactly the same angle as that net, as that cross there. Come in using a push cut. Okay, take the excess out. Okay, and then on the other side. Okay, so you've just took that chunk out there, and you do it exactly the same on the other side. So same angle there. That's the top section. You want to come in right there, push with your thumb, and because you've done that cross batoning, it's what's created as a stop cut. Okay, so your stop cut's there. Okay, where that beak is. Hence that's why I call it the beak notch. Okay, so all you have to keep doing is working both sides. Okay, sticking it at the same angle. Okay, so take some time, just keep working at it, and don't forget to do both sides. Okay, so other side, line it up, just make sure it's well away from your fingers, so it's nice controlled mannered. Okay, so you're controlling the blade with the back of the spine of the blade and with your thumb, so you're not going like that, it's going to have accidents to chop your thumb off, which we don't want that, do we? Okay, so again, nice and controlled. Now normally when I'm cutting, I'll hold it close to my chest, so I've got even more control. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing it out here is that I do trust myself with a knife, but I don't recommend it going out here and doing it. It's so I can get the stick into focus. So normally I would like to do this, I get total control with my knife, doing a push cut with the thumb, right up to the cross section. Both sides, again, thumb always behind, well away from that edge, all the time. Okay, then turn the stick round, and basically you need to get these out. So what you do is line it up with the beak like that. It's a question of just put your thumb on the back of the blade, or the spine shall I say, and just press down, and then one side's out. Okay, do exactly the same on the other side. You can do it this way or do it that way, it's entirely up to you. So again, nice controlled mannered, just put a little bit of pressure on, get the blade out, remove the material. Okay, you can do it that way, whatever way suits you, whatever way suits you, as long as it's nice and controlled mannered, keeping the edge well away from your fingers, your hands. So always work away from it if you can, when necessary. Okay, that's all you're doing, working exactly the same angle like this. Turn it round, got the excess off by just pushing it in the back of the blade like that. You can see what it's doing. Okay, don't forget to do both sides. Okay, so again, coming in, nice angle, the excess like this, tidy it up, tie both sides up, just have a look, make sure it's level. Okay, if the beak's not level, don't worry about it. Okay, you can always address that. Okay, so you can address that. I'll show you, actually might as well show you now where I've got you. Right, again, put the blade in this section here what you want to trim off, and then you push at the back of the spine of the blade, okay, until you hear the snap. This is why it's important to have really sharp bushcraft knives. Okay, you won't be able to do this with a blunt one, or one that's not being sharpened properly. Okay, so with minimal pressure, if you've gone slightly wonky, it doesn't matter as long as it does its job. Because all we're doing is we're practicing at this point. That's all we're doing. Okay. Okay. So we end up like this. So we've got like a beak. See, a nice triangle notch. Cross that you just cross back on. Okay. And again, if you want to line it up, it's not 100% lined up. So just take probably more off this side here. Nice control with your thumb. Like this, turn it round, trim the excess off, like so. Now, this is what would happen if you have a rotten piece of stick, because if you do have a rotten piece of stick and you press on that, the stick's going to snap, and obviously your blade's going to go through your fingers. And like I said before, we don't want that, do we? Okay, now take your time. Take your time with it. There's absolutely no rush. If you're here for the day or the night or a couple of nights, it doesn't matter. If you're going to do it right once. So take your time with it. Okay. And then once you've done both sides, just do a little bit of the middle and start trimming it up. Okay. So now we're going up the middle. I'm just like tidying it up, really. Like that. Trim the excess off. I'll turn it around. Okay, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So there we go. There's your notch. I call parrot notch or beak notch. So you don't confuse yourself. Don't worry about the names. Okay. Now, that's obviously made by cross batoning. If you've got a good, strong, sturdy tool like this, nice, strong, full tang knife. And if you've only got a pocket knife, maybe a Buck 110, folding knife, something similar, then you'd do it another way. It takes a bit longer, obviously. So just come back down there again. Okay, so that's the first way. The other way is, if you haven't got a strong knife to do it, you'd have to do it with your thumb. Okay, so exactly the same as before. Let's come into it, right angles of the stick, and what you want to do is just rock the blade very carefully backwards and forwards. Okay, and keep the pressure there. Okay, so we're not sawing, we're not moving the hands. I mean, look how steady my hands is. All I'm doing is rocking backwards and forwards, and this is why you don't want the stick getting deeper and deeper. Okay, if you look at that, that's your first cut done. Okay, first cut done. So turn the stick around and come to the other side, and you do exactly the same again, whatever's comfortable for you. Okay, so we're going to do this like this, do exactly the same, just rock it backwards and forwards, deeper and deeper. And if that snaps there, I know what you're thinking, if that snaps there, the knife's just going to drop straight down, you know. So I prefer the cross baton method because it's not only is it a lot quicker, it's a lot safer as well. But if you've got this is the only knife you've got, say if it's, imagine this is a folding knife, it's the only knife you've brought out with you, you've got your full tang knife or your strongest knife, then you've got no choice. So there we go. You've still got your X. You can see the depression, do exactly the same as you did before. So where the X is there, you want to line this blade up with the top part of the X and come in at this angle. Okay, so come in bottom of the X and then come in at the top like that. Again, all controlled with your thumb. Okay, all controlled with your thumb. Take that out, turn around, do the other side. Okay, it's the same again at the same angle, because we don't want to cut that beak off. Turn around, do the other side. Get in a better position for you. And try and do this with the tip of your knife. Don't really want to be coming up here. You get more control up here, I do agree, but you get better penetration from up here. As long as your fingers are out of the way and it's controlled with your thumb. Okay, so again, turn around like this, cut the excess off on both sides. Use your thumb if need be, if it's got a stubborn one, to put more pressure like that, and just keep going. Exactly the same as before, except this takes slightly longer because I haven't cross batoned it. I use the baton, so the stop cut that I've created is going to be less deep than if you did it with a baton. But if, like I said, if this is you've got a folding knife or a weak knife and it's the only knife you have, then you want to do things like this, then by all means it can be done. You don't have to baton everything all the time. I know it makes things quicker, but okay. So again, take bits out that you don't need. Tidy it up a little bit. This side. You can see straight away that it's not as deep as when you cross baton it. So you have to do a little bit more carving into the wood, unfortunately, but it is what it is. And like I say, just don't rush it. Just take your time with it. Just go with the flow. You're not in any rush, you're in nature. No need to rush about. Listen to the sound of nature when you're doing it. Okay, fingers out of the way, trim it off. Okay, so tidy it up. So I'm not going to go all the way, I'm just going to show you the difference here. Trim it. Okay, so you can see the difference straight away. Okay, so that's the one I've done by hand, and that's the one obviously I've cross batons. So it didn't take me long to do that at all. Obviously with this one it's going to take me longer because I've had to do it by hand by not hitting on the back of the blade, but it can be done. It's just that you just need to keep working at the corners, and then eventually, same as you did the other one, it straight in the middle. Okay, so that's two ways that you can cross baton. Put your knife away. So yeah, there's two ways you can cross baton. Whether I put my thingy remote's in there. Okay, so I mean, if you're not confident with knives, obviously by all means just keep practicing. It's practice, 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 practice. That's all it takes. So you can get used to complicated angles and the use of the thumb, because it doesn't come naturally, believe me, it doesn't come naturally. In fact, it feels unnatural. Obviously, we're so used in society today, we're so used to, say, if you cut it, you're cooking in the kitchen, using knives that way, chopping your vegetables up, chopping your meat up, that we not really comfortable at doing things like this, you know, unless you're peeling potatoes, or spuds as we call it in Derbyshire. So I'm going to leave it there, but I'm going to do a short video after this one to explain what that notch, what I've just shown you, could be used for. Okay, so I'll catch you in a bit.